Once upon a time, in the ancient city of Vaishali, there lived a wealthy merchant named Dhananjay. He was renowned for his riches, his grand mansion, and his vast collection of precious gems. But among all his treasures, there was one he cherished the most, a rare blue sapphire that shimmered like the ocean under the moonlight. Dhananjay believed that the sapphire brought him prosperity, health, and good fortune. He locked it in an iron chest, hidden deep within his house, and checked on it every morning before he started his day. The thought of losing it filled him with fear, and though he had everything a man could wish for, he was never truly at peace. The mysterious disappearance. One day, after returning from a business trip, Dhananjay rushed to check on his sapphire. But when he opened the chest, his heart nearly stopped. It was gone. His face turned pale, his hands trembled, and his mind raced with panic. He searched the entire house, turned over every piece of furniture, and questioned all his servants, but the jewel was nowhere to be found. Dhananjay became obsessed. He hired guards to watch his house day and night, interrogated his neighbors, and even accused his own family members of theft. But the more he searched, the more miserable he became. His days were spent in anxiety, and his nights were restless. The joy he once had in life was gone, replaced by suspicion, anger, and grief. A visit to the Buddha. Hearing of his distress, an old friend suggested, "Dhananjay, why not visit the Buddha? He may help you find peace." Desperate and broken, Dhananjay set out for the monastery where the Buddha was teaching. When he arrived, he found the enlightened one sitting beneath a Bodhi tree, surrounded by monks and villagers, his presence calm like a still lake. Dhananjay bowed deeply and spoke in a trembling voice. "Blessed one, my most treasured sapphire has been stolen. My heart is in turmoil. I cannot eat, I cannot sleep, and my mind is drowning in sorrow. Please tell me how to find my jewel, for without it, my life has no meaning." The Buddha looked at him with kind, knowing eyes. "Dhananjay, what troubles you is not the loss of the sapphire, but the attachment you have to it. Tell me, were you unhappy before you owned the jewel?" Dhananjay hesitated, then admitted, "No, Lord, I was content with my life before I possessed it." "And now that it is gone, does your life itself hold any less value than before?" Dhananjay fell silent. He had never thought of it that way. The story of the monkey and the jar. The Buddha continued, "Let me tell you a story. In the deep forests of the East, hunters set traps for monkeys by placing sweet rice inside a narrow-necked jar. The monkey, lured by the smell, reaches in and grabs a fistful, but when it tries to pull its hand out, it realizes that it is stuck. The neck of the jar is too small to let the clenched fist pass. The hunter approaches, and the monkey panics. It jumps, it screams, it pulls, but it does not let go of the rice. If only it opened its fist and released the grains, it would be free, but its attachment keeps it trapped." The Buddha then turned to Dhananjay. "You are like that monkey. You cling to your sapphire as if it is a part of you, but the more you hold on, the more you suffer. True peace comes not from having, but from letting go." Dhananjay's eyes widened. The words struck deep. He had spent weeks in misery, but not because of the loss, rather because he had refused to accept it. A change of heart. For the first time in days, he felt a strange sense of relief. He took a deep breath and said, "But Lord, how do I let go?" The Buddha smiled. "Begin by shifting your focus. Look at the blessings that still remain in your life. Your family, your health, the food you eat, the air you breathe. These are treasures greater than any sapphire. Wealth comes and goes, but inner peace is found in gratitude and wisdom." Dhananjay sat in deep thought. He realized how much he had ignored, his loving wife who had tried to comfort him, his children who had missed their father's presence, and the simple joys of life that he had taken for granted. The sapphire was gone, but his life was not. The true jewel. Days passed, and Dhananjay began to change. He stopped looking for the sapphire and instead focused on living fully. He spent time with his family, helped those in need, and found joy in giving rather than hoarding. One morning, as he was tending to his garden, a servant rushed to him, breathless. "Master, I found the sapphire." Dhananjay turned to see the servant holding the blue gem, covered in dust. It had fallen behind an old wooden chest in his storeroom. A month ago, Dhananjay would have cried with joy, but now he only smiled. "Keep it," he said, "or sell it and use the money to help the poor." The servant was shocked. "But master, This was your most valued possession. Dhananjay looked up at the sky and laughed gently. No, my friend, my most valued possession was never this jewel. It was my peace of mind. And that I have finally found. The lesson. Dhananjay visited the Buddha once more and shared his transformation. The enlightened one nodded. You have understood well. The greatest loss is not of wealth, but of inner peace. And the greatest gain is not in possession, but in freedom from attachment. Dhananjay bowed with deep gratitude. He had come seeking a lost jewel, but had found something far more precious, the wisdom to let go. And so, he lived the rest of his life, not as a man weighed down by wealth, but as one truly rich in heart and spirit.